자, 요즘 30대 직장인들은 출판용으로 그 경제처에서 경제 수신서류의 책들을 많이 본다고 하는데요. IMF 이후에는 이런 류의 책들이 출판계를 주도한다고 얘기해도 과언이 아닌 듯합니다. 자, 그중에서도 1년 만에 130만 부를 판매하는 돌풍을 일으키고 있는 책이 있습니다. 자, 바로 이 책, 부자아빠, 가난한 아빠입니다. 이 책 제목부터 벌써 도전적이지 않습니까? 부자아빠, 가난한 아빠. 예. 자, 혹시 근데 이 책 제목 때문에 이 부자아빠와 가난한 아빠, 두 명의 아빠를 둔 한 아이의 가정사와 그 외로움, 갈등, 이런 내용이 아니냐 하시는 분도 있는데, 그런 내용은 아니고요. 이 한 권의 책으로 인해서 자신의 인생을 바꾼 분들도 많이 있습니다. 자, 부자아빠의 열풍 함께 느껴보시죠. 전 세계 금융의 중심 미국 뉴욕. 빈자리를 찾을 수 없이 붐비는 한 투자 강연장에 활기가 넘칩니다. 자, 도대체 누굴 기다리는 걸까요? 바로 로버트 기요사키 씨. 그의 책 부자아빠 가난한 아빠는 전 세계 50여국에서 베스트셀러입니다.
How many people have had a chance to read Rich Dad Poor Dad? Thanks very much. I appreciate the business. Who has not yet read the book? Good, new customers. I appreciate you. He kept trying to tell me, work hard and save money. I said, that's a sure trip to the poorhouse. The reason it's poor is because savings is taxed at what rate? 50%. The middle class is carrying the load in taxes. The poor and middle class. Today, it's work hard, save money, and put it in your 401k, buy, hold, and lose. You know, diversify your account.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And this book is excellent also.
You think you'll become a millionaire now?
Oh, most definitely, without a shadow of a doubt.
언뜻 보면은 그냥 옆집 아저씨 같지만 그는 수백만 달러를 가진 부자입니다. 책이 나온 지 5년이 지난 지금까지도 국세통을 이룹니다. 이 책의 핵심은 사람이 돈을 버는 것이 아니라 돈이 돈을 벌도록 해야 한다는 것입니다.
People study to be employees, but they never study to be investors. And if you want to be rich, you need to study to be an investor or entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur and investor. Start your own business. Start investing. Keep getting educated, because that's all there is. It's up here. Is whatever you teach up here makes money.
For those that haven't, don't worry, I'll be talking a little bit about it today. But before I begin, I want to thank all of you for being here. Single largest audience I've ever spoken to, so my knees are a little shaky. Before I begin, I'll give you a quick synopsis of my background. As I said, my name is Robert Kiyosaki. It sounds like Kawasaki. I wish it was Kawasaki. I would be a playboy in Tokyo today. But the name is Kiyosaki, and I am fourth generation Japanese American. I was raised in Hawaii, and when anybody comes up to speak to me in Japanese, I will have no idea what you're saying. I was raised in Hawaii and educated in New York. I'm going to talk about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it's a true story. So people come up to me and say, is it really a true story? I go, yes, it is. One's about my real dad, who was a PhD in education. Brilliant man. He graduated from university in less than 2 years. He then went on to Stanford University, the University of Chicago, and Northwestern University. The guy was an academic genius. And then my other dad was my best friend's father. And my best friend's father was a high school dropout. Now, guess which was the rich dad? The guy that dropped out of school, you know, because he didn't go to school. He didn't mess his mind up. anyway, both dads recommended I go to college anyway. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad is about the story of these two different fathers recommending different things for me. For instance, my poor dad, the PhD, he always said to me, go to school, get good grades so you can find a nice, safe, secure, what? Job. And that was good if you were born before 1950 or 30, but today there isn't really a safe, secure job. They don't pay that well anyway. And what my rich dad said to me was, don't listen to your old man, listen to what I have to say. And my rich dad said to me, don't work for anybody else, build businesses. And what he said to me was, thank you. So I have, since a little kid, have been building businesses. If you want to be successful, you got to change the direction of the flow. Because this pattern over here, what that looks like, if you look at it going down into the liability column, out the expense column, it looks like one of those treadmills. You know, I go to the gym, it looks like this. So what happens to an individual is they go to school, they get the good grades, they graduate, and they get themselves a job. And they're doing pretty good, you know. 22 years old, 23 years old. Then they go and they meet the boy or girl of their what? Dreams. And they decide to get what? Married. And the boy or girl of the dreams doing the same thing. They got two incomes. They say, well, two incomes can live just as good as what? One. They decide to get married, and now they're going like this. So the first thing they got to buy when you get married is the banker tells you, you got too much income, so you're paying too much in taxes, so you better buy a what? House, because the government's going to give you a tax break for it. Anytime the government gives you something, be careful, okay? I don't trust them that much. So here's this young couple. Now they got a mortgage, and they're going like this, and they're working really hard. And they're going, oh yeah, I'm a hard-working individual. So but all of a sudden they're short of cash now, so they got to work harder, so they make the boss richer. They pay more in taxes, and they're making the bank rich. And of course they got to buy a BMW to match their lifestyle of their house. And so they're like this. Yeah, we're doing really good, hard-working people, you know. And then all of a sudden, she says to him, guess what, dear? I'm going to have a what? Baby. Oh, so wonderful. And the child comes, and pretty soon the old guy's right by this. He's working hard. He's running down. He's in this. This is called a rat race. He's going to work. He's busting his you-know-what. He's working hard. He gets another pay raise. The government takes more, and he gets further into debt because he's got to buy a bigger house because the government said go into debt because you're going to get mortgage deduction. Okay, good. I'm working hard. And you come up to him and you say, hey, I want to show you a plan. What do you mean you're going to show me a plan? I don't have time to look at the plan. I'm so busy working hard. In the spring of 1999, I'll be launching my next book, and that book is called The Cash Flow Quadrant. What's it called? The Cash Flow what? Quadrant. And I'll show you the cash flow quadrant now. I showed it to the directs the other day. This is the cash flow quadrant, and I think this has tremendous relevance to your life or your work here. This is what my rich dad showed me. The cash flow quadrant, the E stands for employee. What does E stand for? Employee. Very good. What does S stands for? Self-employed. What does S stand for? Self-employed. B stands for business owner. What does B stand for? Thank you. And I stands for investor. What does I stand for? Investor. So, the reason it's called the cash flow quadrant, it's because it's where does your cash flow from. So, let's say you're a postal worker and you have a W-2, then you're an employee. The trouble with being an employee, who gets taxed the hardest? Employees. That's the problem with getting a nice, safe, secure job. So what a lot of people did during this downsizing days and all that, well, let me first say this. The self-employed person, a lot of people say they own their own businesses, which is true. But there's a difference between a self-employed business person and a business owner. And the difference here is this. A self-employed business person cannot leave the job. In other words, if they left, the income would go up or down. Down. In many cases, this is an electrician, a plumber, a dentist, many small business owners, etc., salespeople. they're self-employed. A business owner, on the other hand, the defining thing my rich dad said between a business owner was a business owner could leave the business for a year or more and come back, and the business would be running better, income would be up, and you could go off for another year if you wanted. And that was a defining difference here between a self-employed business owner and a business owner. Those are the differences. So one of the things that my rich dad taught me is you have to learn to work with people, and you listen to a person's words. I can tell an employee by their words. When somebody comes up to me and says, I'm looking for a nice, safe, secure what? Job with benefits, I know I have somebody who comes from the value system of an employee, the mindset of it. When I meet somebody who says to me, I charge $100 per hour, or I just can't seem to find good employees, or my commission rate is 6%, generally they're self-employed. The problem that I found in education, academic education, is they tell people, my poor dad said was go to school and find a nice, safe, secure what? Job. This is my poor dad's advice. And what my rich dad said to me was don't bother with that, go this way, build companies, build businesses. My rich dad said to me, if you want job security, own the company. That was the best thing you could do. So I learned to build businesses here. Just as a stat for you, if you're interested, is that the average rich person throughout the world, 30% of their income comes from here and 70% comes from there. And the average poor middle class person, their income comes from here. And that's the big difference there. So that's why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is to become wealthy, you have to learn to have businesses or other people work for you. So my rich dad taught me was this. It says that a business owner, what they're always looking for are excellent systems and excellent people. And that's what I studied, systems and people. There's three kinds of systems primarily in the world today. One's a C corporation. IBM is a C corporation. Most rich people own C corporations. Then in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, another thing came on the line, was called franchises. One of the most famous franchises was what? McDonald's, today the largest landholder in the world. And in the 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, franchises were considered illegal. And then there came out a new one in the 60s, a thing that most of us are in here, is a thing called network marketing. And that's a business because it's a system with what? People. That's what makes it a system, that the individual can actually move on and have the system and people work for them. I have personally, my oil company, my mining company, my real estate companies, some education companies are primarily C corporations. One of them went public off of the Canadian Exchange in Vancouver. The other one I have here is I've built franchises. Considering network marketing. One of my problems with the school system today is they're still teaching people to look for nice, safe, secure what? Jobs, and it's making them wimps. So the thing I want to talk to you about is a lot of times when I talk to other audiences, most corporations don't invite me in to talk to their employees. They don't like me for some reason. I can't figure out why. Because I predominantly teach entrepreneurship and investing when I teach. And so a lot of people want to find their path to financial freedom this way. The problem with this is if they're looking for nice, safe, secure jobs, they're also looking for nice, safe, secure investments. And there aren't any. And that's why they get wiped out. You know, they have this thing called the 401k and mutual funds. I mean, it's a great idea. But investing is a game of winners and losers. And I'm concerned that within the next few years, there's going to be a lot of these guys who are going to get cleaned out. Because I will show you the path to the ultra rich follow. This is the path that Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, who else? Anyway, Trump. What they do is they build businesses. That's what the rich do. And this here is the path of the ultra rich. They first build businesses, and because they have so much money, they have to invest it somewhere. One of the tough parts, really quickly, is when I meet I think this is the worst position of all. The reason is the government rips them to shreds. But the problem with this is if you're these are the really smart people. The trouble with being successful here is what happens if you're good. You get busy. And then you have to work harder. And because you're not very good at managing your cash flow, pretty soon you're like this again. You know, you're working hard, and your cash flow is going out the door. That's why, in my opinion, this is one of the hardest ones. These guys on planet Earth, they're called the rugged individuals.
직장인들이 너무 쳇바퀴 살고 뭐 월급도 거의 매일 같으니까 너무 답답하다는 생각이 들더라고요. 그래서 큰 돈만 주고 싶어서.
현재를 파악하시죠. 그래서 내가 가고자 하는 일도 정할 수 있고.
직장인들이 월급을 아무리 받고 적응을 열심히 해도 크게 이렇게 여유가 있는 생활이 안 된다는 게 느껴지더라고요.
부자아빠 가난한 아빠를 읽고 누구보다도 공감한 사람들은 30대의 젊은 아버지들이었습니다. 토목 설계 회사에서 일했었던 이태권 씨. 이 책을 읽은 후 지금은 자신만의 새로운 사업을 구상 중입니다.
거의 매일 야근을 하다시피 하고 살았습니다. 그리고 저뿐만 아니라 또 제가 다니는 회사뿐만 아니라 대부분의 사람들이 그렇게 살고 있는 걸 알고 있습니다. 그리고 토요일, 일요일도 마찬가지고 쉬어야 되고 아이랑 보낼 시간 없고 그런데 무슨 자유가 제게 있는지.
힘센 건 어떤 거지?
힘센 거.
직장인으로는 열심히 일해도 아파트 한 채 분양받기 힘든 현실.
돈도 있으면서 시간을 확보해서 가족과 같이 보낼 수 있는 시간, 제 아이와 같이 보낼 수 있는 시간을 만들어주고 싶고 제 아이도 그 제 손자와 그런 시간을 가질 수 있었으면 합니다.
부자아빠 가난한 아빠는 돈보다 중요한 것도 물론 많지만 돈 없이 가질 수 있는 것은 하나도 없다고 말합니다. 그리고 돈은 곧 자유라고 주장합니다. 5월 말에는 한국에도 방문한다는 기요사키 씨. 그에게 그의 책을 읽으면 진짜 부자가 될 수 있을지 물어봤습니다.
I don't know. Everybody could read the book, but 90% won't do it anyway. 90% they'd rather just work hard all their life.
TV 책을 말하다 오늘 첫 번째 시간이었는데요. 그 로마인 이야기 그리고 부자아빠 가난한 아빠 이 두 책 모두가 100만 부가 넘는 그 베스트셀러였었습니다. 이런 책들이 베스트셀러가 되고 있다는 것을 보면 현재 우리 사회가 어디로 가고 있는지 또 현재 우리가 어떤 위치에 있는지 이런 것들을 알 수 있지 않겠습니까? TV 책을 말하다는 이렇게 우리 사회의 현재와 미래를 가늠해 볼 수 있는 그런 책을 선정해서 여러분들께 소개해드리고 있습니다.